Hey everyone, this is Arushi, and now I would like you to introduce the set of lightning talks. And first, I would like to thank all the university students, researchers, and industry professionals for submitting the entries. The great thing was that the entries for these lightning talks were not just limited to US and the Cambridge area, but we got it from all over the world, India, Europe, but it was really tough for us to select these top 10 out of all the entries we got. So here we go.
I'm excited to talk to you about our project, Physics-Informed GANs for Visualizing Arctic Sea Ice Melt. The Arctic is a critical resource and it is important to monitor it both for climate science but also to gather support from the general public on the effects of climate change. It is pretty unfortunate then that there are many areas in the Arctic where daily, high quality, cloud free RGB photorealistic imagery is not available. We hope to plug such imagery gaps using GANs. In order to do this, we take a standard image-to-image translation GAN and feed it two inputs for a given region. One of the input comes from a time when imagery is available and is present in 10 meters per pixel resolution. And the second input comes from a physical model for a date when imagery was not available for this region. This physical model gives us a visualization that has to simply distinguish the ice and the non-icy regions from this potential time in the future or the date when the imagery was not available. Using these two pieces of input, the GAN is able to generate a picture that looks like this, or this is what we're aiming for. In order to do this, we collected a training data set of 100,000 tiles of melting sea ice from the regions outlined in light blue in this map. Each square represents a pair, where one part of the pair is the imagery tile from the winter when there's a high presence of ice, and the second part of the pair is the same region from the summer when the ice has melted away. Each image is 10 meters per pixel in resolution and 1024 by 1024 pixels in size. Here are some samples from the training dataset. The top row contains regions from winter, and the same regions visualized in summer are present in the bottom row. I also want to share some very initial inferences that our model has produced, visualized in the fourth column, outlined in orange. The ground truth for the same regions is available in the second column, and the segmentation masks are available in the third column. We're currently working on improving these inferences, both by improving the diversity of our dataset and also by using more nuanced loss functions that are more applicable to Earth observation datasets. Thank you so much for this opportunity to present my work.
I'm excited to present our work, Node Attribute Completion in Knowledge Graphs with Multi-Relational Propagation. I am Eda Bayram, and this is a joint work with Alberto Garcia Duran and Robert West. Knowledge graphs have the capability of storing rich structural information. That is why they are preferably used in many AI applications, which mainly require completion of missing data. In this work, we address the incompleteness in the numerical node attributes of a knowledge graph. We propose an algorithm which propagates node attributes across the multi-relational structure of a knowledge graph. We use a regression function to predict one node attribute from another through the relationship connecting the nodes. There is one type of regression function for each type of message propagating across the graph. The propagation algorithm operates iteratively in a message passing scheme. For each node attribute, it collects and aggregates the predictions with a weighted average and updates the value of the node attribute. A regression function models a linear dependency between the node attributes. Model parameters are estimated over the observation set in advance to propagation. Also, we assign a weight to each function as its model precision. So in this work, we proposed an algorithm which accomplished message passing with incomplete heterogeneous node features. We did experiments on 2 benchmark datasets and compared to some baseline methods. Results show the effectiveness of our approach for the task of node attribute completion in knowledge graphs. For more information, please check out our paper at arXiv, or you can reach out to me with an email. Thank you.
my name is Farzaneh. I'm a data scientist in Azure Networking at Microsoft. I'm going to talk about the potential AI solution for secret detection in Azure Networking. So, router switches that Azure runs on have configuration files which they are synced regularly to the downstream stores like Azure Data Explorer for the purpose of management, compliance, etc. These configurations have a lot of secrets like passwords, hashes, etc., which they should be removed for the sake of privacy and security. Existing mechanism is based on regular expression algorithm or regex and might miss some of the secrets because of new secret types, device skew, user manual interference in config files, or regression in regex. To help this problem, we investigated a potential AI algorithm based on machine learning, specifically classification. And since classification is a supervised approach, we need to label data first. To label the data, we rely on regex algorithm and run it for each line of config files to label them as secret or non-secret. Then, like any text classification model, we need to clean the data to get rid of unnecessary network-related syntaxes. We developed a deep learning model using a pre-trained embedding as first layer using NNLM by Google to map the tokens to the fixed 50 dimension. Following with 16 hidden units, and the output is 1 unit to score for the given label. The model was evaluated on almost 350k config files with F1 score 99.9, and during the testing, a few new secrets were caught which they were previously unknown. The model is currently running on Azure Databricks. Thanks for your attention.
Hi, I'm Hannah Robertson. I'm a senior digital signal processing engineer at Beacon Biosignals. Beacon is a healthcare startup. We're working to make brain monitoring actionable, interpretable, and accessible across various clinical environments. The project I'm presenting today is our interictal epileptiform discharge detection model. That's a bit of a mouthful, but this so-called spike detector is basically an anomaly detector for a particular type of signature in EEG recordings. EEG recordings are non-invasive brain activity recordings, multi-channel brain activity recordings. So accurate spike detection is critical because even a single spike in a multi-hour recording can be indicative of underlying conditions that require neurologist intervention. Our model achieves state-of-the-art performance, but we want to ensure that this performance holds over various patient demographics. And moreover, we want this equity testing to be an ongoing process that we monitor continually during model development. In our poster, we're presenting the results of equity testing across 2 subgroups, sex and age. Come check out our poster from noon to 1 to hear about how we performed this initial experiment, the results of that experiment, and how we have integrated these tests into our day-to-day model development pipeline. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I'm here to talk about predicting Clostridioides difficile recurrence from high-dimensional microbiome data. Clostridioides difficile infection, or CDI, is the most common cause of infection in the hospital, and it is a major cause of sickness and death in the US annually. Recurrence is a particular problem as it is incredibly common and increases mortality while decreasing quality of life. Several studies have looked at predicting CDI recurrence. However, no known study uses microbial composition data and broad gut metabolites to predict CDI recurrence. To this end, we conducted a study that sampled from the gut of participants diagnosed with CDI before treatment, after treatment, and for 4 weeks or until recurrence. All samples were analyzed to determine the metabolites present and the microbes present, which we call operational taxonomic units, or OTUs. The subsequent data analysis resulted in a dataset with 49 patients, 1,120 metabolites, and 126 OTUs. From each participant's data immediately after treatment, we were able to predict CDI recurrence with a median AUC of 0.788. We saw clear evidence that the metabolic data contains much more signal than the 16S sequencing data. In fact, all biomarkers identified as significant were metabolites. The metabolites identified to be predictive of recurrence included a host inflammatory biomarker, a metabolite reported to affect permeability of the intestinal lumen, and a metabolite highly associated with microbial host co-metabolism. The metabolite found to predict protection against CDI recurrence has been implicated in antimicrobial activity and cell cycle regulation. Going forward, we will use more sophisticated prediction models that utilize prior biological information to increase prediction accuracy and the insights we can gain from biomarker identification.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina and I am a third-year PhD student at the London Interdisciplinary Doctoral Program at University College London. In this video, I'd like to walk you through my doctoral thesis project in which we're reconstructing deep trees. However, these trees do not come from a forest, but from single cells grown in cultured populations. We utilized automated fluorescence time-lapse microscopy to collect long-term movies of proliferating cells, typically for about 80 hours per experiment. In the next step, we utilize deep learning and computer vision approaches to process the live cell images. We have developed a nuclear segmentation neural network to identify individual cells, which we then classify using a convolutional neural network. These data are then supplied into our novel single-cell tracking algorithm, BTRAC, which connects the single-cell observations into biologically relevant trajectories. In addition, our BTRAC software can record a division history of each individual cell and therefore reconstructs multi-generational cell lineages. And this is how we analyze deep trees. The beauty of this project is in the power of big data. We have collected a massive repository of single-cell trajectories. We have collected not 200, not 2,000, but 20,000 single-cell observations with fully annotated lifetimes. And what do we do with them? Well, so far we have analyzed the distribution of the cell cycle duration and cell population, and using this information, we have divided cell families into categories of fast cyclers and slowly dividing clones. Plus, we have looked at how correlated their cell cycling times are in more than 5,000 lineage trees spanning up to 8 generations and for present distance. And if you'd like to learn more, please do let me know, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
I'm Lu Zhang from the Department of Statistics at Harvard. Today, I'm going to talk about my work, Floodgate Inference for Model-Free Variable Importance. Here is the setup. We have data y, x, and z. That y denotes the response variable. X is a variable of particular interest. C is a set of p further variables, also known as confounders. In many real-world problems, there could be complicated nonlinear relationship between y, x, and z. People usually want to understand how important each covariate x is in this relationship. We answered this question by introducing Floodgate, a new inferential approach for variable importance. Here's a measure of variable importance we considered. It's called the minimum MS gap, which is formally defined as this. It basically measures an increase in best achievable MSE when we throw away x from the model. It's an interpretable, sensitive, and also model-free measure. And our method will conduct inference on this. Here's a graphic demonstration of our method. It works like a floodgate. It can take any regression function estimator mu as its input, which you can think as arbitrary weather conditions. It output a lower confidence bound, which you can think as a true water level. So our method guarantees that for any regression function estimator, our output will be always a valid lower confidence bound for the minimum MS gap. We also apply our method to the genomic data set. Here's a graphic demonstration. So basically, this is a colored Chicago plot. We use a color to represent the importance of a given group of SNPs with respect to certain phenotypes.
Hi everyone, my name is Shubhi Asthana and today I will be presenting demand forecasting of service request tickets with human in the loop. I have done this project along with my colleagues Ali Megahead, Pawan Chaudhary, Taiga Nakamura and a former intern Bing Zhang. We are from IBM Research, Almaden, San Jose. So, we know that time series forecasting is a well-explored topic in machine learning. However, time series models like LSTM, ARIMA may not capture all the relevant features that influence its prediction. Additionally, when dealing with high dimensionality data, the task of extracting features is non-trivial. So, here, I would be presenting a novel application in the services industry where we developed a time series forecasting model with profit and augmented human in the loop to improve its prediction. Our method leverages human in the loop to augment the model as well as navigate with better features to get the best case scenario with optimal performance. We applied our novel method to an application of a global IT services provider which had thousands of product portfolios, and our results are promising. They illustrate the efficiency and accuracy of the methods that we are talking about. For more information on our results and how we implemented our method, please stop by our poster session and we would be happy to take all your questions. Thank you.
Hello! Today I'll be talking about how to exploit human expertise for building interpretable models in healthcare. Human expertise is critical for high-stake medical decision-making. In this work, we want to leverage human expertise with machine learning in order to make predictions. We want to minimize the error, but also maximize consistency with human rules. So you can imagine a space of patients where some regions the machine learning algorithm is very accurate, in which case we would rely on the machine learning, and other regions where human guidelines may be very accurate, or difficult or unknown regions where very few patients exist, and in all these areas we would like to leverage human expertise. Our proposed solution combines human expertise with machine learning in a mixture of experts framework, where preference to human guidelines and accuracy are maximized simultaneously. Solving this problem is a difficult non-convex optimization task. We propose two algorithms to solve the problem using projected gradients and log barrier approximations. Our final predictions align as much as possible with human experts. On two applications for treating HIV and major depressive disorder, we show that our approach achieves state-of-the-art performance in comparison to existing learning to defer baselines. Our approach also prioritizes human expertise to make decisions that are easy to interpret and understand. On the left, we show a plot of the accuracy versus the coverage of human expertise, and on the right, we show some of the most important features that come out of this. For more details, please come visit us at the poster session. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sandhya Krishnan, an undergraduate studying physics and computer science at BITS Pilani, Goa, India. I'll give a quick overview of my project that involves concepts from social network analysis to enhanced chat platforms. As a result of the pandemic, several courses have shifted online, and as a result, forums have been set up on platforms such as WhatsApp and Telegram to clear student doubts. The problem with using these platforms for question answering is there is a massive number of messages on these platforms, and moreover, there are often several parallel threads of conversation, and it then becomes very difficult to parse information from these forums. Further, students don't know whom to approach for guidance on a particular topic and when to do so. We deal with these issues by extracting topics from the chat and making conversation graphs for each topic, using between centrality to determine the experts, and using a dynamic frequency count approach to determine when the experts are likely to be active. Here is a quick demo of our work. There is a folder in which you can put the chat that you wish to analyze. Then we have the admin dashboard, where you can pick the start date and the end date of the analysis. We also have the user dashboard. These are the keywords detected in the chat. I'll go to strings. There are 41 messages which are tagged with the keyword string, and these are the experts in the topic. Now, you can view when this expert is likely to be active. For more information about our project, please visit my poster at the poster session from 12 to 1 p.m. Thanks.